All right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive.
Yeah.
So today we're going to be talking about the differences between traditional hypnotherapy and conversational hypnosis.
Oh, very cool.
And we've got some really fascinating source material
Yeah.
that suggests that a lot of hypnotherapists, they kind of get so caught up in like the techniques of hypnosis
Right.
that they miss the whole point of like the therapy,
Right.
of actually like helping people make changes in their lives.
Yeah, I see that a lot. Like, it's very easy to get caught up in how to do something
Yeah.
and forget why you're doing it in the first place.
Exactly. And so that's what we're going to be unpacking today.
Yeah.
So first of all, like, how would you kind of describe like the traditional hypnosis approach?
So traditional hypnosis is often very protocol driven.
Oh, okay.
It's almost like following a recipe. You start by establishing rapport with the client,
Uh-huh.
and then you would move into like an induction,
Okay.
taking them into a hypnotic state, and then maybe using some deepeners to get them into a deeper state of relaxation.
Gotcha.
And then you might move into things like visualizations
Mm.
and suggestions that are tailored to whatever issue the client is coming in with.
So it's like a very like step-by-step process.
It is very much so. There are a lot of scripts out there, actually, for inducing a hypnotic trance.
Right.
One that I've seen uses progressive relaxation. So, starting with the toes, relaxing the feet, relaxing the calves, working all the way up the body,
Oh, wow.
and then moving into very specific suggestions for the client's issue.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it seems very like formulaic.
It can be very formulaic, and that's where some of the critique comes in.
Oh, okay.
Because when you're so focused on the technique,
Right.
sometimes you lose sight of the actual goal.
Right. So it's more about like the process than the outcome.
Yeah, actually. It becomes more about the means than the end.
Gotcha.
And that can lead to inconsistent results.
Right.
Because you might be doing all the right steps. But if you're not really tuned into what the client needs in that moment,
Mm-hmm.
then it's not going to be as effective.
Totally. So then how does conversational hypnosis differ from that?
So conversational hypnosis takes a different approach.
Okay.
It really puts the therapy first.
Okay.
So if you think of it like a meal,
Yeah.
the therapy is the main course.
Right.
And hypnosis is like a little spice that you add in.
Oh, interesting.
It's not the main event,
Right.
but it can enhance the flavor.
Gotcha.
So a conversational hypnotist would see all those hypnotic techniques that we talked about
Mm-hmm.
as just a natural part of building a strong therapeutic relationship.
So it's not like separate from the therapy.
Exactly. It's all integrated.
Okay.
And it's about understanding the client's needs first,
Mm.
and then using hypnosis to gently guide them towards those breakthroughs.
So it's more like tailored to the individual.
It is much more tailored to the individual because everyone's different.
Right.
And what works for one person might not work for another.
Totally.
Mhm.
And it's really about addressing their specific needs
Absolutely.
and not just like following a formula.
Exactly. And one of the things that I really appreciate about conversational hypnosis is the emphasis on testing
Okay.
at the end of a session.
Testing like what?
Testing to see if the client has actually made progress.
Oh, interesting. So it's like measuring the results.
Exactly.
Good.
Because you want to make sure that they're not just walking away with a feeling that something might have shifted.
Yeah.
You want to see tangible evidence that they're actually moving towards their goals.
Right. Because I think a lot of times with therapy, it can be really subjective.
Right. It
You
can.
walk out and you're like, oh, I feel better.
Yeah.
But did anything actually change?
Right. And that's where conversational hypnosis really shines.
Okay.
Because it's about making sure that you're making real, measurable progress.
Yeah. And it's like empowering for the client too.
Absolutely. It gives them a sense of agency
Yeah.
because they can see that they're actually making changes.
Exactly.
Right.
And it's not just like, oh, I hope this worked.
Right.
Yeah. And speaking of like hoping things work,
Mhm.
one of the things that our sources talk about is this idea of like shiny object syndrome,
Oh, yeah.
which I think a lot of us can relate to,
Yeah.
where, we're always like, oh, there's a new technique.
Right.
Oh, I got to get this certification.
Yeah, that's the best thing.
Yeah. And our sources suggest that like maybe the key to actually getting consistent results
Mm-hmm.
isn't about like adding more and more tools to your toolbox.
Right.
It's about getting really, really good at like the core fundamentals
Absolutely.
of like understanding the client's needs.
And being able to address those needs effectively.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's something to really think about.
It is.
Like, are we just chasing the shiny object
Mm-hmm.
or are we actually like focusing on what really matters?
That's a great question.
Yeah. And so I'm curious, like with conversational hypnosis,
Yeah.
do you think there's ever a risk that like it might lack the structure needed for deep trance work?
That's a good point.
Because some people, they seek out hypnosis specifically for that experience.
Right. They want to go into that deep trance state.
Yeah.
And while conversational hypnosis may not always aim for the deepest trance states,
Okay.
it's still very effective.
Right.
Because it's focusing on achieving specific therapeutic goals
Mm-hmm.
through a more integrated approach.
Gotcha.
So it's not just about the depth of the trance. It's
Yeah.
about what you're actually doing with that trance state.
So at the end of the day, it's really about finding the approach that works best for you,
Absolutely.
right? Like, what are your goals and what's going to help you achieve those goals?
Exactly. And it's important to remember that this deep dive is just a taste
Yeah.
of a very vast and complex field.
Right.
There's so much more to explore out there.
Exactly. So if you're interested in hypnosis, this is just the beginning.
Yeah.
Keep exploring.
Keep learning.
Keep diving deeper.
Keep questioning.
Yeah. And ultimately, ask yourself, like, what is going to help me achieve the changes that I want in my life?
Yeah.
So thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
And we'll see you next time.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.